You're listening to the Blues Room on 105.9 WCXR. Our guest tonight is Pete Sears, who is just in town playing with Hot Tuna. Good evening. Welcome to the Blues Room.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
You have reissued your CD, Watchfire. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, when it first came out on Redwood Records, right after I left Starship back in 87, it was a real departure from the horrible stuff I'd been playing for a few years, and so I just sort of went into just playing more sort of acoustic oriented sort of music, more blues, more like I used to play back in the 60s, and more like early Starship, I suppose. I don't know, but anyway, it's I had Jerry Garcia and Dave Grisman and David Hayes and some friends and Holly Near, people like Mimi Farina came out and helped me on it, and it first came out on Redwood Records, and it's all there's a theme about sort of another Saving the Earth album, but it's this is back in '87, and anyway, Grateful Dead Records, my contract expired with Redwood Records, so Grateful Dead Records said they'd put it out and sort of re-release it, so I was just grateful that it was available, really,
Jerry Garcia also plays slide guitar on one of the cuts.
Yes, he plays slide guitar on a song called One More Innocent, which is sort of a song about countries like El Salvador and Guatemala that have a very bad human rights record, and he played some nice slide work on that. Yeah.
And he also is on Nothing Personal.
That's right, with Holly Near singing, and he's a great player.
Well, let's listen to Nothing Personal by Pete Sears from Watchfire on Grateful Dead Records and come back and talk some more.
All right, thanks very much.
You got the Blues Room on 105.9 WCXR. Our guest tonight is Pete Sears, who is with Hot Tuna. We're going to do some blues music tonight. Blues has always been a big factor in your career.
Yes, I've loved the blues for years, of course. Started out when I was very young in Bromley, Kent, in England, listening to Big Bill Brunsey and all those guys in my friend's brother's record store. And he had all the old Folkways recordings, and I used to listen to Champion Jack Dupree, and I played with Long John Baldry Blues Band and a bunch of other blues bands back in England. And I play with Nick Gravenitis quite a bit now. He's a good friend, and I just like Champion Jack Dupree's piano style. What's this?
Well, would you like to pick a couple of tunes to play tonight?
Okay, let's see what we got here. Well, God, they all look so good. I don't know where to start here.
Whatever you want. You're no stranger to the Blues Room. This is your second time. Try Professor's Blues Review, maybe? See Gloria Hart. Where's this? Professor Longhair? I think that's it. Yeah, I think Professor Longhair. There we are. It's My Fault, Darling. It's My Fault, Darling. Actually, I haven't heard that track, but some of these tracks are I'm trying to look for one here I have heard, actually, but that's got to be good. It's got to be good, so I'll take a chance on it. Professor Longhair. You say what it's called. Here's Professor Longhair, It's My Fault, Darling, in the Blues Room on CXR. You got the Blues Room on 105.9 WCXR. Our guest is member of Hot Tuna, Pete Sears, and we're talking tonight about the blues and about Pete's new release on Grateful Dead Records called Watchfire. The whole idea behind the Watchfire CD release, there's a concept, and that's to help the earth and the rainforest. You want to expound on that a little bit, what people can do if they're listening tonight?
I think just pay attention and be aware, read between the lines, and don't believe everything you read in the newspaper or hear on the television, especially. Believe some things, but just try to keep an open mind and look at both sides of the issue, and try to look into people's souls a little bit to see if they're telling the truth or not. There's such terrible things happening in Central America. It's actually going through a change right now in Guatemala, hopefully for the better with the new president, but the extreme right-wing military factions are sort of fighting out right now, and there's a lot of human rights organizations
being bombed and sort of death threats and everything, and it's a very nasty business. We can help by perhaps not sending any money down there for a start, unless of course it's to help the new president, if indeed he is as good as we hope he is. And one you can call the Guatemalan Human Rights Commission, actually, USA, Guatemalan Human Rights Commission, USA. They're in Washington, D.C. I don't have their number with me, but Sister Alice Zuckman is a very dedicated person who has been working for many years to try to help the Mayan Indians of Guatemala, and which make up most of the population of the country. There was in the 80s there was a real genocide, and thousands of people killed or disappeared, and it was So anyway, enough of that depressing stuff. But it's certainly something one should pay attention to. And the album is I have a non-profit organization. It's a project of Earth Island Institute that we made a video on Guatemala with Dave Grisman and Ray Tellez and Mark Adler directing, and we circulate that around to human rights organizations. So anyway, so hopefully this just be aware, just be aware and question all the time, and don't follow blindly anybody.
Our guest tonight is member of Hot Tuna, Pete Sears. He's joined us in the Blues Room here on CXR. You worked with Rod Stewart, you worked with Quicksilver, you've worked with quite a few people. How did you get involved with Rod Stewart in the early days?
Through Mickey Wallow. Mickey Wallow was the drummer with Jeff Beck, the Jeff Beck Band. He was on that album Truth, and I used to hang out with a guy named Graham Bond, who used to have the Graham Bond organization. He was a really great musician in England in the 60s. And Mickey used to come down to the club too, and sort of became friends with him, and we jammed together. And he sort of introduced me to Rod, and I did the first album I did for Rod was Gasoline Alley. Then I went on to do Every Picture Tells a Story and Never a Dull Moment and Smiler. They're the albums I did with him, but mostly piano, a little bit of bass, but mostly piano. And Ian McLagan would play, great keyboard player, would play organ and piano on one track per album. It was a Faces track kind of thing.
Well, why don't we listen to the old Chuck Berry thing, a Sweet Little Rock and Roller. Want to tell us something about that before we fire it up?
Oh, it was that was on Smiler, and I remember that album. What stuck out to me of that album was the Memphis Horns, Wayne Jackson and those guys. It was a real pleasure working with them, and it was just a live great song and great track to play, and I think it even starts off with Mickey Waller's dog that happened to be in the studio and started barking, so they left it on the album.
Here's Sweet Little Rock and Roller, Pete Sears and Rod Stewart in the Blues Room on CXR. You got the Blues Room on 105.9 WCXR. Guest tonight is member of Hot Tuna, Pete Sears, and Pete is our DJ tonight. Do you want to pick a few more songs here? Anything you want.
Okay. Let's see here. Looking for some piano players, but that doesn't matter. Actually, how about Junior Wells, Little by Little? And let's see, how about some Otis Rush, All Your Love? That sounds good. I'd like to hear that.
Now, Otis is a friend of Nick Cravenites, right?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. Is he?
I believe Nick produced Otis Rush back in the 70s, right?
That's right. I think he did.
And Nick told me that Otis was the first one to string his guitar backwards rather than Jimi Hendrix.
Okay. All right. Well, that's okay.
Yeah, just pick whatever you want.
Let's see. Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. I'd like to hear Howling Wolf, Smokestack Lightning, of course, and Sonny Boy Williamson, Don't Start Me Talking. And Muddy Waters, Just Make Love to Me.
Here they are in the blues room on CXR.
Here they are in the blues room on. Wait, start that again. You can edit that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
On CXR.
Okay, CXR? Just CXR to short? Okay.
You got the blues room on 105.9. You got the blues room on 105.9 WCXR. Our guest tonight is member of Hot Tuna, Pete Sears. You played in Washington today. What'd you think of the show?
Oh, it's great. It's kind of humid, but it's a great day, a beautiful day, and a great crowd, and it's just great to be playing with Jorma. You know, he's such a great musician, Jorma and Jack and Michael, and I've always enjoyed this kind of music. This is really the kind of music I enjoy the most, and sort of started out playing this kind of piano, and so I'm sort of settling into my spot here and really enjoying it. You know,
there were a lot of hippies today, huh?
I guess they were out there, yeah, sort of. That's good. That's good.
You got the blues room on 105.9 WCXR. Our guest tonight, Pete Sears from Hot Tuna. Pete has a brand new release, or a reissued release, on Grateful Dead Records. We urge everybody to pick it up. You also have Greg Orico playing with you on Rainforest. Greg and Gary Duncan have put together a band called The Whole Earth. Do you have a favorite track on Watchfire?
It depends. Let's see. Well, I sort of like Guatemala, but the stream is actually pretty nice. It's not really a blues song, but it's kind of enjoy that. And you know, there's One More Innocent
with Jerry Garcia. Jerry Garcia, I believe, quoting him, said that this is a really powerful collection. The use of acoustic instruments makes it really successful. How do you feel about that quote?
Well, it's good. I took basically, I just sort of, it was the album, as I said before, the album was a sort of a reaction to the sort of building up with drum machines and sequences and stuff approach that the Starship had sort of ended up doing, and it was sort of didn't have that live feel. You know, there was too much accent on precision or something, and through these machines. And so I just took every instrument I'd always loved, like the mandolin and bagpipes, Celtic harp, you know. Sort of went in and put them all on this album, and did most of it live with broke all the rules, you know. Had just had all these musicians, and, saxophones and sort of conga players and drums and acoustic piano, mandolins, Celtic, all in the studio together, all playing at once. And there were some overdubs, of course, so like vocals and things like that, but and a few solos here and there. But mostly it was all live, all the pianos right there, and fluffs and everything. So you know, it's but I kind of got used to doing that with Rod Stewart, you know, because he was very into the feel of the track, you know, and that was something that sort of, and if it was very often a first take, which was certainly the way it should be, I think. Not necessarily first take, but go with the feel and not get hung up on, you know, forget a track because of the lack of, sorry, go ahead, what?
Rod Stewart has this unplugged CD out with Ron Wood where they go back and do Cut Across Shorty and a few of the old tunes, Maggie May. How do you feel about that?
It's great. It's good to see him out there playing again. You know, he's really doing some good stuff these days. You know, he's.
Want to pick any more tunes that I can edit in? Anything you want, man. You say hi, this is Pete Sears of Hot Tuna. You got the blues room. We're going to hear from.
Okay. Let's see, let's find a good one. Hi, this is Pete Sears. You got the blues room, and you're going to listen to Lightning Hopkins' Short-Haired Woman. Let's see. Hi, this is Pete Sears, and you've got the blues room, and let's listen to Freddie King, The Stumble. Let's see. Okay, hi, this is Pete Sears, and you're listening to the blues room. Let's listen to Blind Lemon Jefferson, Matchbox Blues. The Fabulous Thunderbirds, Sea Boys Blues. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble, Flood Down in Texas. Clarence Gatemouth Brown, Okie Dokie Stomp. Let's see. Percy Mayfield, Please Send Me Someone to Love. Great song.
Great. We've got another 2 hours.
Yeah, all right, okay.
And we'll mix in the Watchfire thing,
All right,
so
okay.
it'll be great, man.
All right,
I
thanks.
really appreciate it. Anything else? You'll listen to Gary's tape too? I mean,
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I've got so many.
any future projects you have coming up?
Let's see. Yeah, I'm actually working on a new record right now, and just got Steve Kimmock on guitar, and Garcia's going to put some tracks on, he said, and use David again, Grissman. It's more of a straight ahead album, just a regular kind of thing, which hopefully get a band together at some point, take it out on the road, if anybody wants to hear it. So.
Again, Pete, you were a member of the Jefferson Starship. How did it come that you joined that band?
Well, actually, I was in the United States in 1972, co-producing and arranging the music for this album called Insane Asylum for a singer named Kathy McDonald. And upstairs, Grace Slick and Paul Cantor were doing their solo albums, and Grace was doing Manhole. And so I just went upstairs and laid some blues piano down, and she started writing lyrics frantically, and it turned into a song called Better Lying Down. And they mentioned that they were going to get a band together called the Jefferson Starship, because the airplane had broken up at that point. And actually, that's about the exact same period I met Yorma. I started hanging out with Yorma for a bit, and anyway, I sort of wish I'd gone off with him. Anyway, but no, the Starship in the 70s actually was a pretty cool band. It was a good, honest band. But anyway, so I went back to England to do Rod Stewart's Smiler. Worked on that. It took a whole year because of record company problems, and we were all broke and everything. And I just hung out in England for 1973, and Paul called me a few times from the States, and then I ended up going back, and I was playing with Martin Whittington in a band in England. We had a really good band together, and he was the fellow that wrote Maggie May and played on all Rod's acoustic guitar on Rod's albums. But I went ahead and went back to the United States because my old lady wanted to go back for her sister's wedding, so I joined the Starship.
Let's play some Starship.
Okay, great. Hi, this is Pete Sears, and you're listening to the Blues Room on 105.9 WCXR.